Okay, thank you. All right. Well, hey everyone, welcome to today. We're going to talk about account engagement landing pages. So, as the team introduced me, my name is Marcos Ryan. Again, I work for a consulting partner. I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem space since around 2015. I've used a lot of different marketing automation tools, and that's kind of from a consulting perspective or like just job wise career, that's kind of where I've stayed. So a little bit on the Salesforce admin side, a lot in the marketing operations space. Um, so uh, for me, when I first got started, I didn't really, we were talking about certifications. Like it was really hard to get to the point where like I wanted to go take a certification. So if you're just starting or you have your first certification or whatever, like don't get discouraged. Right now, Salesforce is offering a couple of free ones that I'm sure we can share those links to with you guys later. Like the AI associate, for example, it's free until next year. So that may be something worth looking into if you're starting to explore AI. I know Shiva just had a really cool question about like, are we using AI at work, right? So that may be a good opportunity for you to start there. But let's go ahead and talk about landing pages. For this particular topic, just kind of why I guess my opinion matters. I've also been a front end developer, so like I've been in teams of one. I've been in teams where we have 10 people, some people writing copy, some people designing, all that stuff. So I've kind of been really flexible and nimble when I needed to be. And then of course, as here at Serconte, we have kind of like different specialties, right? So this is going to come a little bit just kind of like vocabulary, and like for those of you that maybe aren't using account engagement, there'll be some intro content. But then if you have questions along the way, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll stop through and then we can definitely get those answered. So the first thing that I wanted to start with, just to level set with everybody, because I understand that not everybody on on the call may be a marketer, but just wanted to start before we go dive into account engagement. What's a landing page, right? So there's a lot of different vendors. One vendor that I particularly like is called Unbounced, and they use the term landing page to describe a campaign-specific page with a single call to action and no website navigation. So the word landing page gets used a lot by different people in the business, right? Most of the time is we're promoting something, right? We can be promoting a product. We can be promoting an event. We can be promoting a piece of content like an ebook, right? But where the differences lie are you can have a web page on your website with the main CTA being, come fill out this form and download this, right? But it's still in the ecosystem of your website, right? I can still go on the navigation and click around and explore and do that sort of thing. So the difference here is a landing page is almost in its own silo, right? It's in its own little pocket world by itself. And so the goal is that when I land on this landing page, there really isn't anything else for me to do, no other distractions than to maybe read a little bit of copy, maybe watch a video or something, but really to fill out that form, right? And there's some people believe that like a landing page should look essentially like this. Above the fold, once I get to it, my laptop encompasses the whole landing page. There's some people that like to create long landing pages and kind of jump around. So there's different philosophies there, of course. But again, just to level set, this is essentially what a landing page is. Standalone page somewhere on the internet with one call to action, usually a form fill. All right. So what are we using this landing pages? And again, I'm going to try to go through some of these a little quickly just because, you guys may be familiar with this, but landing pages, again, we're using them for things like gating content, getting people to register, maybe a contact us or request a demo. But there's instead of those specific use cases, there's other things that are a little bit more broad. So you may be using a landing page for ABM purposes. So ABM, account-based marketing, you're usually targeting a big account that has a lot of records tied to it. So those could be leads and contacts. And you're trying to create a unique experience for that organization, right? It could be a department or the whole organization as a whole. An example that I had for one of my customers, they work in the manufacturing space, and they build boxes. So what they do, as you can imagine, if you ever gone to the grocery store, kind of everything's in a container, right? So if you go and you buy cherry tomatoes for your salad, that comes in a container, right? And there's design that goes into that container, right? So it has the little slits so the tomatoes don't hold moisture, right? And then rot and things like that. If you drink and you buy alcohol, like a 6-pack of beer, it could be that it's tied with it could be in a box, right? It could be that it has like they're all tied together by a piece of plastic on the top, right? Those transparent, like you cut them up so the sea turtles don't get stuck in them. Or it could be the ones that are like, it's a whole piece of plastic and you kind of snap it out of place. So my customer did this, and one of their big customers was people like Pepsi and Coca-Cola, right? Or craft beer companies, right? And so for them, an ABM strategy would have been, hey, let me take my top 10 accounts, right? It could be Nestle, it could be Coca-Cola, whatever. I'm gonna create a landing page with one or two of my latest products that I feel like they need to know about as we go into 2025, right? And so then I'm selling them on something very specific. There's no distractions. This is what it is. And then we can use email marketing, SMS, or any other channel, right, to promote people going there, right, reading through it and hopefully filling out the form. And then we pick up the phone and do our thing. So again, a lot of different use cases, as you can see here. Some organizations also use landing pages just for instructional. So if you don't have like a wiki space, right, somewhere where you're creating documentation for your nonprofit or your team, right, your small team, or you're trying to document, you could use landing pages, right, to just essentially put that information there. It's all in a hub, right, and it's easier to digest than maybe finding it like in a Google Drive, right, or in a Word document. So again, just different use cases that I listed out here. All right, so what I'm going to demo for you guys, and there's more after this, but what I'm going to demo just to kind of give you all the possibilities. In account engagement, there are 3 out-of-the-box landing page options. And I'm going to go through them very quickly, and then we're going to have some fun together and do some testing. But I'm going to show you the 3, and then I'm going to talk to you why you should or shouldn't use certain options, what their pros and cons are, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and switch here real quick. And you guys should be able to see Cloudy Lounge 1. I just highlighted it top left. Are we able to see that? There's a little butterfly top left of the page.
Yes, Marcus. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to go into what I like to call the classic landing page, which is a drag and drop. So before I start there, in account engagement, and this is very close to HubSpot and Marketo if you're using those tools. But in account engagement or Pardot, you essentially have 3 elements that need to come together for a landing page. One is you need to build a form, okay? And if you, I feel like everybody has like seen a form or build a form before, so I'm not going to go into it just because I do have an example. But you know, a form has fields, has a submit button, you can change colors and all that stuff. In account engagement, the form also has all the automation that you want to happen. So things like when somebody hits submit and gives us their information, do I want to send them an email? Do I want to add them as a record to a Salesforce campaign? Do I want to add them to a list so I have it later, right? So again, a form. The other element in account engagement for landing pages is what we call a layout template. A layout template is exactly what it sounds like, a template for a layout on a landing page or on a form, right? So what I'm gonna share with you just briefly, and just so you can see it, you don't have to squint too hard to look at it. But if we go under the content tab, we have on the left side navigation, layout templates. And layout templates, what they're composed of when we open one is code. And that code is going to be HTML and CSS. Now, before anybody freaks out and says, hey, I don't know what you're talking about, I've never played with that. Out of the box, Pardot gives you a couple of templates that you can customize. However, in order to customize them, right, so things like changing colors, adding your font from your website to this landing page, adding videos, anything like that, you have to use HTML and CSS. Now, there's some things in here that allows us to interact with like the text, right? To be able to choose which form we want to input, those types of things. But essentially think of this as a blueprint, right? And then you're just filling in the boxes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share this cell's ready when I would have just clicked layout template and create a new one. But to share, right, on the stuff that Pardot or account engagement gives you out of the box, when you go here and create a new layout template, this is going to be blank, this code. But right above this section with code, there's a little drop down that says import layout template. And if you click on that, there are 5 layout templates that are responsive that you are able to leverage. And so with this, and they all look a little bit different. So you would essentially create a layout template for each of these options. But what I would do is I would click this and I would click import now. Click OK. And then essentially what this did is Salesforce has put the code in here for you. Okay. Now at this point, this code tells us a couple of things. And I'm just going to be very broad because, again, I know not everybody may be comfortable with code, so I don't want to scare you, but I'm just going to explain at a very high level. This code tells us how and where we want the form to be and look. It also tells us which sections on the landing page we can edit and what we won't be able to edit. Okay. And then we also have this preview button that when we threw that code in there, this is the landing page that would essentially look like right now. So on the top, we're missing a logo, right? Because we haven't uploading any images. We have a little CTA. Let me make this bigger. We have our header here that just has a call to action, like a normal header on a normal website. It gives us 2 kind of sections here with text, and then here we can tell there's an image. And then wherever we see this %% content little tag, this is where the form is going to pop up. Okay. On the bottom, we have kind of like on most landing pages, you have like the 3 things that differentiate this product or the 3 benefits from downloading this ebook, that sort of situation. And then on the bottom, you also have just out of the box, like your Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, that sort of thing, and a privacy policy for your organization. Anything you see here, this is out of the box, right? So if you build another page, this is what it's going to look like every single time. So after that, I would click save. I already have it, so I'm not going to do that. And the only other thing that I did is give it a title. And this is what the template for this page would be. If I wanted to change the color of this banner from black to red, blue, whatever my specific color is for my branding, it would need to be in that code you saw earlier. There is not let me drag a section up and down and stuff like this because this is coded. Just like your website is coded, right, in a specific way. You may have an editor to move stuff around, but at the end of the day, it's code, and the code itself, unless you know how to manipulate it, it's gonna kind of stay the same. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and build a landing page. So the third piece from the two, so the first one was the form. The second one was this layout template. And then the third is actually building a landing page. So we're going to go ahead and build a landing page. So the first one that I shared with you was classic landing page, drag and drop. So what I'm able to do here is just click start. I'm going to go ahead and give it a quick title. So we'll call it landing page A. Oops. The name is internal, but the title is what's going to show up on the little tab of the browser. So right now this browser tab says Lightning, the line, and then Salesforce. This is going to say landing page A. Everything in Pardot is connected to a Salesforce campaign. So for this one, I'm just going to use something that I had before, but you would use a campaign that's specifically built for the ebook or the event that you want to use. What this does, this connection, what it does is whenever people fill out my form, right, the number, so let's say I get 20 form fills, that number goes into the Salesforce campaign, and I can use Salesforce reports to show how many people have filled out my landing page. So now I'll have the same information in both Salesforce and in Pardot. And we'll talk about reporting a little bit later. So I gave it this information. I'm going to go to the next step, which if you're following on the top, let me make this bigger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. I can choose a form, or if I haven't created one, I could essentially put create a new form on the fly, or I could just say, this is a page that won't have a form. I'm going to go ahead and do a form that's called Spooky, and I'll show you an example why I did that later. And then I'll click next. Okay, so this first landing page, classic landing page, drag and drop, will not use the layout template that we created. All you need for this first example is literally what we just did right now, which was give it a name, attach it to a campaign, and that's it. When we get to this level 3, or this number 3, we would see all the layout templates that we have, including the one we just created. But again, this option, we're not gonna use it. So there's actually an option right above it that says stock templates, and we would click here. This is the very first iteration of landing pages that Pardot came about. And although I do not actively promote this landing page, I did want to share this with you because you may be working with a small team where you may need a landing page like within an hour, right? You may not have a resource that can actually help you build something that's coded. So I wanted to share something that's out of the box. So with this, you have this 5 options, and then you have from scratch, which means really drag and drop. I'm going to go ahead and select this first one, highlight with 2 columns. And then what this is going to do is it literally is drag and drop. So what I can do here is I can move this logo around, put it wherever I want. I can make this banner smaller, right? I could double click it and potentially upload a new file. So I'm just going to put this in here. Click insert. There it is. I can make this bigger. And then this is the form that I picked. It was called Spooky because it has a spooky pick list. And I can just literally come in here, and I'm using the WYSIWYG editor. What you see is what you get. And I can just go ahead and change the text. Okay. So after I do all that, I can click next. This is just telling me, hey, you're using this landing page, you're using this form, you're using this campaign. Are you sure? I'm going to go ahead and click yes, confirm and save. What this does, the moment that I clicked it, this is a live landing page. So if I give this link to one of you, and let me actually throw it in the chat, you guys would be able to access it. It is HTTP, so if you're on Chrome, it may freak out because I can't do HTTPS on this one, but that would be essentially the landing page. So although that was pretty easy and straightforward, it doesn't look great because we didn't invest really a lot of time into it. But the reason why I don't promote this is because we use our inspect tool and I change the dimensions of my screen to maybe a pixel 4, or even just make it responsive to to the size of maybe your tablet, or if you're on just a laptop that doesn't have a big external monitor, you'll notice that parts of this get cut off. By that I mean that this landing page is not mobile responsive or really adaptive. So for that sake, from a marketing operations perspective, we don't like this. We don't like it. This could be a tool that, again, if you're a team of one and you need maybe you do a lot of events and you just need something really simple. So when people show up to the table and they can register, right, in lieu of having an actual registration system, this could work, right? If you're tabling, have a booth, that sort of situation. So again, if you can keep it really simple, this could work, especially if the only way that people are accessing it is maybe on your booth, you have, 2 tablets and a laptop and they fill it out there. But that's not the case for a lot of us anymore. So this option is out the door, right? We're not going to use it, but again, it's an option. So that's option number 1. All right. The second option that I had in my slide is called coded landing pages. And this is available either if you're in Lightning or if you're in the classic application of account engagement. So what we would do for this one does take into effect all 3 of the elements that I talked about earlier. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create landing page B. So we create a new one. I'm going to call it B. Actually, I'm going to cancel here because I want to show you something. So a special request was just to show that we are able to clone landing pages. And so we are able to do that very easily. If you invest the time and you're like, hey, I really only need to switch maybe the hero image or just a little bit of text, but everything else is going to be the same, then we're able to clone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check this box, and then at the right, there's an actions button, and I'm going to click copy. Okay, thanks for confirming, appreciate it. All right, so I'm going to call this landing page B, okay? And we're going to go ahead and copy it. Oops, what happened there? Let's come over here. Oh, maybe this one I'm not able to. Let's see. Let me copy this one. Landing page B. All right, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and click edit. Landing page B is there. I have a different campaign because this is something different. I'm going to go next. And I'm actually going to use my spooky form again. So I'm keeping the same 5 fields. I'm clicking next. And then here is that third element. So that layout template. So another thing that I'll drop here, if you're new to coding, there are so many resources online that you can probably spend 30 minutes during your lunch break and for a month, and then you'll be comfortable enough to at least play, right? A couple of those resources would be W3 Schools, exactly what it sounds like. You can literally ask it, I want to change the color of a button, or I want to do this, or I want to do that, right? Yes, exactly. Schools at the end, but yes, W3 Schools. It even has the ability for you to try things in their ecosystem. You can make a free account if you wanted to, again, to test different things. I use that today to, I'll drop my code in and make changes there and then grab the code back and put it back into Pardot. So that's an option. You also have Khan Academy, Khan Academy. That's also another really cool tool that goes a little bit more depth, like tutorials. Awesome resource. If you're looking for, if you already know a little bit of code and you're like, hey, I want a template and you didn't like the one that I shared a little bit earlier. Again, if you go to thespotforpardot.com, we have about 6 different templates that you can download, put them into Pardot, and then, you know, again, you can customize your colors and things like that, but they're relatively close to, you know, to being finalized. And I have a surprise for y'all a little bit later today. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my sales ready layout template. Again, this is HTML and CSS. You can also add JavaScript for more advanced uses, but again, this is a very simple out of the box one. So I click there. And what this did is it applied that layout template. Now that template, I can go and do other pages with it. And this, what you're looking at this screen right now, it would always start here. And it always starts here because in the code, it says, hey, I'm going to have a logo. I'm going to have a secondary CTA on the top right. I'm going to have a title, all those things that have little lines, dashes around them. We coded that, or Salesforce did that for us, right? So really, you know, if you know a little bit of HTML and CSS, you can really make the pages look however you want. The difference is that there isn't a drag and drop or like, hey, let me delete this out of here because I don't want it anymore, right? So this is, again, for very specific things. I've seen customers use these landing pages because there's so much red tape to get a new page up on the website, or it's just not going to happen like in a month, 2-3 months, right? And we need to send the campaign out now, that this landing pages could provide a middle ground, right? Where we can still have a branded template. It's a little bit more small, right, than a full page, but we have, as a marketing department, we have a little bit more control over this tool, right? Everything that you see with a dash from a technical perspective is called a par.region. In the deck at the end, I'll have some resources. And in those resources, it breaks down, there's 6 types of par.regions. One of them could be something like an image. So we click on this one, it literally only gives me options for an image, right? So I can upload, select from our file library. I can import from a URL. So if you have something on your website, you don't have to go recreate it, right? For this other ones are text. I know that this is going to be a header, so I do not want to give my users any type of bolding capabilities or anything like that. I don't want images here because I know the only thing should be here is text. So the par.region is coded to be just for text. In addition to that, as we scroll down, we have this section that's essentially 1 column, 1 row. And if I click into it, this gives me a WYSIWYG editor with all the fabulous options that we've had in the past, right? So this is more familiar if you're in Gmail or in Outlook, right? Pretty much anything you can do in those platforms, you can do here, okay? If we continue to scroll down, we have some other of those other sections. So this, as you can see, is a table for 3 columns. I'm able to access the code by just using the source button for this one section. And if I wanted to change the code for this one section to make the table on the back like light gray, things like that, I could do that using this. If I just wanted to do something more superficial, like making things bold, changing the color of the text, whatever, I can just do a normal editor option, highlight my text, choose from the color palette, that's green, click save, there it is, right? So for your users who maybe aren't tech savvy, setting up the layout is going to be the most important thing. So then they can just come in, click on the text or click on the image, and they just are updating the very singular thing, and they're not touching code, they're not breaking your template, and you're able to move forward, okay? I'm gonna stop right after this for any questions, and then we're gonna do our third demo. So the next step here would be next. Again, I get this confirmation page. Yes, let's do it. And then I can click view online. And this is again a URL with that information, right? It's live. You know, you can test it, you can do a bunch of other things. That's what it is. So this is again what it was called. I like to call it a coded landing page because you have to use code to do that and to really buff it up and do some stuff with it. So I'm gonna stop here because what I shared with you so far has been, if you're I'm gonna call you OG Pardot user, or you use maybe Pardot before like 2020, those were kind of the options that you've had for a really long time. We're gonna go into a new one that came out around 2022, I think 2021, 2022. I'm gonna share that in a second, but I wanted to stop here if there were any questions.
I didn't see any.
Okay.
If,
Mobile conversion, but like it did before.
okay, Stephen here in the room has a question, so.
Just make a response to that.
Yes. Just the question is whether you can just demo the responsive aspect that you showed on the previous one.
Oh yes, let me try this. So there's still some things on this one, even though it's out of thank you for your question. So the question was, is this responsive? This is definitely more responsive than the other one. So this one definitely has code. Depending on your target audience, right? Some people are just looking at everything on their phone. If you have a particularly maybe older audience, they may be, you know, needing the full screen or just bigger fonts. So that has to do with the design, right? But as you can see here, as I go in, it does adapt, right? So this would be kind of like a tablet view. We were just like, you know, this is probably the size of your laptop. And then if we go into mobile, right, kinda, it does some stuff. Now, Salesforce just gives you enough, right, to be like, hey, we gave you something. None of this is polished, right? None of this is polished. And if you have, again, if you go in W3 schools and learn a little bit, there's this thing called, in the world of websites, there's this thing called media queries. Media queries are a special piece of code that you can add to your landing pages, or your websites probably have them, where you can even decide how things move on tablets, on your desktop, and on your mobile. So an example, if I was doing this, right, what I would probably do before all those testimonials, I would probably want the form to be closer to the top than to the bottom, right? Because from a user's perspective, I know that people aren't going to want to scroll all the way to the bottom, right? They're not. The other thing that I could do is maybe in this banner, I could add a button that anchors. And then when people say, you know, sign me up, it scrolls down for you and it takes you to the form, and then you can fill out the form. So to answer your question, thank you for having it, Stephen. This is a little bit closer to mobile responsive. You still want to do some testing to make sure that it's behaving the way that you want people to see it across devices. And if you are interested in you know, responsiveness and adaptability of any website, including landing pages, the concept again is called breakpoints. So breakpoints are the pixel sizes for different screens, right? And that's usually there's like internet standards to when you shrink it a certain size, it should look certain ways and things like this. And then media queries. Media queries are the things that you can use to actually put in your code to say, I don't care what the internet says, right? The defaults, I want it to do something very specific. So thank you for your question. I'm gonna keep going if you guys don't mind, just to make sure that I get through everything. So the last thing that I have for you is the latest thing. So I'm presenting next week at our event called Mar Dreaming. So anything having to do with marketing operations, Salesforce Data Cloud, Marketing Cloud. We have global speakers. So we have people from India, from the UK, from Spain, from Australia, just sharing their knowledge, very similar to the work that Shiva and the rest of the team are doing here, right? It's just, it lasts a week and it's free to register. So I have a session on part of this, which is building emails in Pardot, right? So back in 2021, 22, they released a Lightning email builder specifically for the account engagement folks, right? If you have any of the tiers of Pardot, you have access to what I'm about to show you. You may just actually need to set it up. And there's ample documentation on how to do so. It is not difficult, but it does take a good 30 minutes to an hour, just depending on what access you have. So the third option is going to be, if I click on landing pages again, you may see a bubble up here that says, hey, you should use the new landing pages. For me, or for you, you may find under the More tab that there's an actual landing pages tab. This is different than the one that you have on the left side of the screen, because the one on the left side is contained within the account engagement or Pardot app. This other one that I'm sharing with you right now lives in Salesforce. So if you do not have a Salesforce license, you will not be able to access this. I'm going to click here, and this is a little bit different. We're moving back to the drag and drop options, but we're keeping in mind Lightning, right? If you ever configure a Lightning record page in Salesforce, it looks somewhat similar, behaves similar. So here what I would do is I would click new, and so I'm just going to go ahead and use this one. It will ask me to, I'm going to click edit here. This is what you would see after you click new. I would give it a name. So I'm going to call it user group, and this is going to be landing page C, right? This is the third option. I would choose my campaign, and that's essentially all you do. You could also give it a custom name. So it would be w3linuxsoft.com/user group or whatever. And I'm going to go ahead and click save. As you notice here, this looks very Salesforce, right? Not very Pardot if you used Pardot before. So in here, you have what this is related to. You have details for this, and this would include those metrics that I shared with you earlier, that if you had that Salesforce campaign, you can pull data over from Pardot into Salesforce. And then we just have some other just traditional modification changes like any other Salesforce record. We also have that public link. For content, we can get a preview of what it's going to look like because I already built this. And then you also have the ability to add a little bit of code. So the first landing page that I share doesn't do any code. The second one that I share was all code. And now this one is kind of like in between. So we have very limited uses of code that we can put in the header and the footer, things like Google Analytics, Hotjar, chatbots, that sort of situation. Those would be the things that we're able to do. So the next thing, right, now that we created a record, what we're going to do is we're going to edit in the builder. So if I click there, this is loading up and it looks very similar to when you're building Lightning record pages. So here what I did on the left side, you have things like buttons, HTML, images, Pardot forms, rich text, and then the layouts. And it's as easy as just honestly drag and dropping, right? And then here you can pick or upload or use URLs. So I can add from a URL, I can upload from my computer. I can choose from Salesforce files, but this is like when you go through the setup, you set up what's called CMS workspaces. So for example, if you had like a logo for your company and you were doing, sales was doing outreach, right? And you guys were using the traditional Salesforce builder, you're not going to find that logo here. This is kind of like a separate world, a separate pocket. any images that you had in Pardot in the original platform, you're not going to see them here either. There is a way that you can migrate them, right? But if you're just kind of starting off, you will not see what you already uploaded. So you either upload it here, or just grab the URL and then use it in here. But this space has its own storage limitations and that sort of thing. So just something to keep in mind. 1 second. Thank you. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. So in here, I would just pick an image again. And then in here, we are able to select it. We are able to make styling changes. We are able to say, hey, we want this to be a specific set of pixels or width. It's a little bit more user-friendly than the two options that we saw before. So in this one, I added another section here, some text. We have our form. We have some more text below, and then we also have kind of like our footer. I did this in about 5 minutes, right? And it's not great. We're able to do a lot more when you take the time and slow down. You can make the padding a lot better, and it's very easy. Sorry about that. It's very easy. You just have to kind of click on the style tabs and you can add spacing. So if you're a visual person, this is going to be a lot simpler than going into the code and editing that code. And so I'm going to go ahead and just click save just to leave it alone. Oops, let's make sure that it saves. Or I guess it doesn't matter. And then I'll click, I'll go back. And then once you publish it the first time, just like all the other ones, you'll be able to click on this link that I'm going to drop in the chat. And you're going to be able to essentially see what this third option looks like. We are able to change the background color. This is a lot more user-friendly, especially if you're, again, working nonprofit, small team. This is good because it also takes into consideration the different, what was I going to say? The different, like rendering. So up here, instead of us playing with the rendering, it just does it for us. So I can say that's desktop. How is it going to look in a tablet? Like this. And then phone. Right. So again, I mentioned there's plenty of things that's wrong with this, right? In terms of different padding and things like this. So, you know, by no means is this done, but I did do this for like 5-10 minutes at the most. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. All right. So those were the three options. I'm going to switch back here and then I have some tips and some resources and some other things that I wanted to share. So 1 second. All right. We should be back to that previous slide. Is that correct? The demo time slide. Let me see. All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Shiba. All right. So with all three of these, the cool thing is that you're able to duplicate. So if you're comfortable with code, once you set one up, remember it's a blueprint, right? And as you saw when I use one of those layout templates, the next landing page is going to look the same, right? That's a starting point. Or I can make a copy of a finished one and then just edit something about it and then publish it again as a separate landing page. So I think that's really cool. And, you know, HubSpot has this, Marketo has this too, but again, it's an option. And then we can get really creative. So with that being said, if you scan this code, it's going to take you to the spot for Pardot, and it's going to take you specifically to this landing page template that you can download. and it has instructions in there about how to drop it into your own Pardot or account engagement account. And you're able to either customize it a little bit, right? So that button is a different maybe color, you can add your logo, that sort of situation. You will need a little bit of HTML, just kind of help, but I'm confident, you know, if you go to W3 schools and just look for the very specific things, or you Google it, ChatGPT actually, you can take this code and drop it in there and tell it, here's the URL for my image, put it where it belongs. It will do that for you. So at this point, even if you're not a coder, there's so many resources out there for you to try. And this is something that you can very easily experiment with, and you're not going to break anything. So, you know, feel free. All right. So some tips, right, for a landing page. So favy icons are, if you have a browser tab, it's going to have a title. But a lot of the times, if you notice, like on your particular website, it may have your logo as well. When people are moving away from a website, right, or even some websites, they don't have that. And that's such a key thing to just like determine branding, right? Again, if you look up code for favicon, it's like one row, and all you need to do is have the right size icon, and you're good to go. The other thing you are able to do with a lot more flexibility on landing pages that it's a little bit more difficult to do on email is use custom fonts. Google has an enormous library of free fonts, and it's really easy to kind of get them into your landing page. If you go into Salesforce help articles, there's a quick article that literally tells you how to put it in. Super easy, right? You just have to kind of go on Google Fonts and say, hey, I want Lotto or Montserrat or Roboto or Area or whatever, right? The system has like the core out of the box like fonts. I think it's like 10 of them, but a lot of times, you know, that leaves a lot to be desired. So they're free. Go ahead and use Google Fonts. Those content regions that I shared with you guys earlier, if you only want people to edit the image, you can code that in. If you only want them to edit text, you can code that in, etc. As you saw, some of even the last drag and drop option does have options for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So you can definitely go beyond what I share with you. But you know, that's there if you have a resource. If not, you can still do some pretty cool stuff with it. When you have a landing page, make it easy for people to find the form and complete it. So try to limit it to 6 fields, right? The least information that you can collect from them, the better. A lot of times what we're noticing now is people are asking for like first name, email, and like company or something like that. And then using code or like another tool to fill in what the company is, look up the job title, the phone number, all that other information, right? And like they already got the person to convert, they already have the information, now they can do follow-up, right? So working smarter through that as well, that user experience. Making sure your messaging is clear and concise is going to be super important. And then finally, if you have videos or any type of animations, those are going to be really usually well received, especially, you know, it depends on what you're promoting, but that could be a way to keep people engaged. What makes landing pages great? So I think the number one thing is like when you get there, you get immediate value. I like to have a mix of gated and ungated stuff on websites that I work on, because you want lead magnets, but you also want people to not go to every single page and everything's gated, right? That's kind of annoying. Next thing is having a clear call to action. So if it's like book a demo, okay, I fill out the form, what happens next? You need to tell people. Be consistent with your branding. So earlier I talked about not only the colors, but like that favy icon, the fonts, all that kind of matters. Adding credibility to your landing page. So things like embedding like Twitter, right? And what people are saying about your brand. Or if you have some customer testimonials, putting them there. So people say, oh, somebody with, you know, a credibility, a customer actually use their product or their service and they like them, right? And then what makes landing pages great is that they convert, right? So like if you can have the prettiest landing page, but if it's not converting, right, it's not speaking to the right audience, doesn't have the right content, it's not really a great landing page. All right. Shiva, how much time do I have? Like 5 minutes? Or am I over already?
You can keep going, well, five
You can,
minutes.
you can keep going till 7. You have
Okay.
time. 7, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to confirm. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk to you guys about the art of the possible. So I share with you pretty mediocre like landing pages again, because I just spent like 5-10 minutes here and there to build them. But some of the things that you can really, it doesn't take a lot of work, but you can really make landing pages regardless if you're using Pardot, HubSpot or Marketo or whatever, or even your website. Art of the possible. So number one, when you have a website, the first thing that people do is we have to install Google Analytics, because we want to know who gets there, what their journey looks like, what pages they're gravitating to, stuff like that. When you buy a marketing automation tool, people kind of lose that thought. And like all of a sudden you're seeing a lot of traffic to these landing pages. And other than seeing like maybe a count that X number of people went there, and maybe you had a couple of people fill out the form, you don't really know, right? What happened. So with Google Analytics, you're able to drop a little bit of snippet of code. To get out, not super technical, in Google Analytics, you can create a subdomain property. And so essentially what it does is it says, hey, they started on the landing page, but they clicked the logo and ended up on your website, right? So all of that is like talking to each other. When you don't do that, Google Analytics doesn't know that landing page did anything, right? So you want all that information to kind of talk to each other. Another thing that I like to do, especially with like website projects, right, that we work on, heat maps. If your people are not converting and you're like, man, we know the content's good, why are they not converting? Enabling a heat map solution like Hotjar, it literally tells you where people are clicking. Sometimes when we're doing some of this experimentation for like optimizing CTAs, we see that people are clicking on words that aren't meant to be clicked, right? Just the way that the sentence was written, like click here, right? And they click here, but it isn't a link. Either somebody forgot to hyperlink that, or it was never meant to do so. So that's a great spot to actually drop maybe a banner or a CTA button, or do something else, change the wording around so it's more clear on where they actually should be clicking. The other thing that I like to use this for is, I shared at the very beginning a very short landing page that pretty much fits on the screen of your computer. Some people, right, depending on what you're promoting, you may need more space and scroll, right? And this could work on websites too. Sometimes your website is really long and you're not really getting to the point, right? You have a lot of fluff. And so when you have 80% of your traffic leaving your website, not even scrolling halfway through your page, it probably means that it's a really long page, right? So those are things that you can keep in mind. Just like your website, you're able to embed chatbots. So we work with customers that have Drift, Qualified, Live Chat, a bunch of other different chatbot solutions, and you can embed them very easily into account engagement, right? Into that code. The other thing that I'm actually going to showcase here briefly is going to be dynamic content. So dynamic content, instead of creating a million different variations of your landing page, when you only really need it to change a little bit, we're able to do that within account engagement. I'm going to share an example here in a second, and we're going to play with it a little bit. And then the last option is if you do a lot of ad spend, right? So Google ads, Facebook ads, that sort of situation. What we can do, again, everybody in Pardot has access to this, is called multivariate testing. So what it does is you can create 2 or 3 landing pages, right? You give Google one URL, just one. And you can configure it in Pardot to say, I want 40% of traffic, 60% of traffic, 20% of traffic, adds up to 100, right? Whenever it does. And then from that one URL, when they're about to access it, Pardot switches the landing page. So one of the landing pages could have 2 extra fields on the form. The other landing page could have, just 4 fields, etc. So you're testing multiple things across different ones. And so it's a way of spreading out your ad spend, right? But you're checking which experience is better for people. So if you have like Hulu or Netflix, it often asks you, what commercial do you want to see, right? The left or the right? That's what they're doing. You just, are given the option to choose, but in this option, we wouldn't let them choose. So that's the other thing that you have at your disposal. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to grab this URL and toss it in the chat. And if you're joining us, there, you can scan this and pull it up on your phone. But I'm just going to briefly go over this landing page. So when everybody gets here, the background is going to be orange. You're going to see this video of haunted house spooky. I built this for an internal demo for my team just to go over like dynamic content. And so if you scroll down, you'll notice that the text itself isn't actually anything not really valuable. But the one thing that does change is that spooky pick list. So if you're, joining me from somewhere else, if you click this link and open it up, go ahead and fill out this form, right? I'm not going to email you. This doesn't go anywhere. It's a dev org. So I'm not going to email you. But if you do this, what you would see, I'm going to choose dragons because that's our mascot. And then just fill out my information. You can even put a fake email address. That's totally fine. Right. Let me do user group. And I'm going to click submit. What this did is dynamic content. Okay. Now, again, a very sloppy style of dynamic content for you guys. But effectively, dynamic content takes data from your lead record or your contact record in Pardot, and we're able to share different experiences. So now, because I fill out the form, I have been cookied, and that cookie says I chose dragons. So whenever I come back to this URL, what the experiences that I'm going to get is going to be dragons. So the background was orange with like a hand, and now we have the hand, but we also have a dragon on the left. And the video changed from a house to the video from Game of Thrones. If there's any fans here in the room today, Game of Thrones. And if you choose some of the other ones, they'll change color to purple, perhaps. There are a couple of options that they'll stay orange just because didn't have too much time, but maybe the video changed. So little things like that, right? So that's the part of dynamic content, right? And you have it in Pardot. You can also use dynamic content on your website. So you just need to embed a little bit of code on your website, and you can change different things about your website too. And it works for pretty much anything. All right, almost there to wrap up. So here, yeah, I think the cat may have been one of the purple ones. Spiders is definitely one of the ones that would change colors. So earlier I talked about heat maps. This is what it would look like right on a landing page, literally a heat map. The closer to the red, the more that people are clicking it. And then this is just what the multivariate testing is. So as a URL, you tell it, hey, I built 3 landing pages. Let me choose the 3 landing pages. And when people click that URL, I want 20% of people to go to this one, and then 40 to the other one, and then the other 40 to the other one, right? So this is good if you are having issues with ad spend, people not converting, right? Or even if it's an ebook, where you can still offer the same thing, but you can change little things, and you're optimizing for design, for copy, for those types of things. And then you take all that information, you can say whichever gets 50 form fills first, right? We're going to go ahead and just do that for all the other ones. So those are the types of things that we can do. I'm going to move on to the last section here, which is reporting. So out of the box, account engagement gives you reports for pretty much everything that you do. So this one, the metrics that you have are things like views, how many people converted. Converted is like the first time they fill out a form. Submissions would be how many times the form has been submitted. So I can only convert once, but I can fill out a form 3 times, right? And then clicks is the number of times I click the submit button. It doesn't mean that the data went into the system 3 times, right? Because maybe one of those times I forgot a required field, right? And so that counted as an error and a click, but not a submission because the data actually didn't go through. So that's the difference between those things. The bottom of here, we have a prospects table, which is just a table of the people that filled out the information. Banu, great question. How do we validate input data and type on landing pages? I didn't cover like building a form today, but on the form, you are able to do all of that. So you're able to choose fields from Salesforce and pull them into Pardot, keep the type, or you can create just Pardot specific fields and choose their type as well, very similarly to how you do it in Sales Cloud. For some validation, it depends on what you're trying to do. Some things you can do out of the box very easily, and then some other more elaborate things, it may require like some JavaScript, for example. Or if you have a third-party solution like a Gravity Form, Form Assembly, Form Ninja, things like that, then they would validate it for you, and then you can just push the data into Pardot. Great question. All right, so moving forward, the other side of the coin is, hey, I want this data in Salesforce, right? So how do I actually do that? You would need to create what's called a custom report type, but if you have Pardot, like there's documentation and stuff, and it takes like 3 minutes to set it up, and you're good to go. But essentially, what this does is it gives you the aggregate data. So Pardot gave us a list of people. This isn't necessarily going to give us a list of people. This is just going to give us the count. So earlier I shared this metrics on the left side of the screen. That's what we're going to see in Salesforce, but not like Marcos Duran filled out the form. If I go to, let's say, Krish or Banu's lead record or contact record in Salesforce, there's a separate, again, a separate thing. When you implement Pardot, you can drop a component onto those objects, and those are called engagement history. So anything that the person does on the Pardot side, including filling out a form, filling out a landing page, it creates a line item. And you can see that here on this examples. So again, we're not able to see it on the report, but you can go into each individual person and find them there too. Or you can just report based on what's in Pardot, and you would get both. All right, any questions? I know that was a lot, so thank you for bearing with me.
Hey, Marcos, that's excellent. I know it's like we'll have a recording for a lot of people who kind of could not follow through.
Sure.
And I guess we need to go back and look at a few things that you said, right? And maybe sometime in the future, we might do a round 2 for this one, for the advanced stuff, because, hey, let people absorb everything, because a lot of people not do, right, kind of thing. So
absolutely, yeah. And if you guys are interested in learning a little bit more, I would need to find the link, but in Trailhead, there used to be a link that you can set up a demo org, like the one that I shared with you guys today, right? Where you can sign up with your own personal Gmail or Hotmail or whatever. So you can learn some of this on your own and not risk, your organization's data or integrity or anything like this. But what I share with you guys today, it's pretty, when we look at it from a holistic Salesforce perspective, it's pretty separate, right? We're not really messing with objects and stuff like that. So that's useful. And I know we had a couple of requests here. So in terms of reporting, what I shared was pretty much out of the box. We are able to customize this a little bit more. One of the requests we had was like, how do I capture like UTM data? Maybe how do I capture the name of the page URL and stuff like that? So that is a little bit more advanced. So I didn't, have a whole slide on it. But when you get the slides, we do have some resources here. On the first column towards the bottom, W3 Schools, Hotjar, Qualified, all those other tools that I said, share with you guys to like spruce up your landing pages or website are there. And then the last column, the templates, that's a total of like 6 templates that we can share with you today, that all you have to do is go and push a button and say, hey, I want them. And then of course you would want to customize them a little bit for yourself, but they're maybe 70% there. So thank you again for having me, for joining me, for all your questions. I can either open it out for more questions or just yeah. I can stop sharing.
Oh,
So,
so when is the Mars Dreaming? It's next week?
Martin.
Mars Dreaming?
Mar Dreaming, yes, it's next week. It starts on Tuesday. It's MAR Dreaming. And when you get there, you'll see my face. They actually featured me this year. So you'll recognize me with this Trailblazer hoodie. But it's free. There is a paid component that's on Thursday, but you can sign up for the free part, which is Tuesday and Wednesday, and then just not show up Thursday because you didn't pay. But I'll be speaking on Tuesday on another cool topic called Engagement Studio. So if you're interested in journey building and stuff like that for the B2B side, that'll be a good overview of what we have, and I'll be giving some stuff away there too.
Look, people don't understand what Pardot is. So it's like it was a good intro to get there.
Yeah.
But then going to the cooler stuff is like one thing which you're talking to you like offline is like
Sure.
people said, "Oh, I have to make so many forms." But one thing is cooler, like people can just leave it to them and okay, hey, we'll talk in more detail next time. Is you can have one form and you can capture like, okay, different text coming in. You don't need to have multiple forms. I mean, new
Right.
forms, everything, right? That's UTM tracking and everything right there.
One example that I had is we had a customer that had 20 ebooks, right?
Yeah.
And they had to have 20 forms for each of them because we were sending an email out out of each one. And so the thing with Parta is you're going to need 20 of something, right? Like 20 campaigns, 20 email templates, 20 forms. You need 20 of something. So what we actually did is putting our web developer hat on. They use WordPress. WordPress is like one of the most customizable website platforms in the world, right? We actually just, as they were building pages, we just added 2 fields. When you're building the page, 2 fields. And those fields were capturing similar to UTMs, but it's different in the sense like we just know that this page belongs to like a product category, right? And this page belongs to, beverages versus packaging versus whatever. And when they were setting the pages up, that's just part of them setting up the page for a new product, right? We use some JavaScript to, when people were filling it out, we grab at the browser and we're like, hey, I want the category, right? And I want the page name and I want the URL and I want all these things. But we're using one form, one email template. We're using 2 pieces of customization dynamic content like I shared with you, so we can change the image of the downloadable piece. And then we use what we call HTML, which is essentially a merge tag. If you've done wedding invitations, you use Excel, you give it all the emails and it just does it for you. Same concept. And so because of all those hidden fields as they were setting them up, they just came into hidden fields, and then the email, it was one template, but it was customized with tokens. And then it worked across all 20 of the emails. So we simplified that streamline. They had a playbook that went from duplicate to just make sure your page has those 2 things and you're good to go.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was saying, like it's like much more to it, right? So it's not like first the base one, understand the basics. And then maybe get you back for the future session one time to talk only about the cooler stuff kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Again, thank you all for having me. Thank you for your time. Thank you for everybody that joined from Vietnam and all the other places. I'll be hanging out a little bit to hear Krish's part as well. And then If you do guys have any questions on part ad, just feel free to add me on LinkedIn and then we can keep talking. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Krish, you want?
Hello, can everyone hear me? In the Zoom. Marcos, can you hear me? Okay, good. And it's good? Okay, good. Let me just, I need to share my screen. Cool. Okay. So Marcos, can you just tell me if you can see my screen as well? Sorry.
I sure can. Landing page.
Okay, good.
AI. Yep.
And I can hear you. Okay, cool. Let me just I need to put the speaker as macro speakers. Okay, cool. Awesome. Cool. I guess this thing will happen. So this is like a presentation I thought of in the spirit of Marcos doing his presentation on landing pages. So this is landing page XAI. So what the future holds for landing pages with the emerging technology that we have today. So I'm going to reference this post that I found. This is the trailhead. So trailhead, they put some, they have this trailhead called Sell Smarter with Generative AI. And this one is about enhancing commerce experiences. And e-commerce experiences is quite similar to landing pages if you were selling for a B2B client or other reasons you would use a landing page. So let's just go through some of the points that they were making here. So some customers come to you searching for just the right item. For these customers, commerce operations must deliver web pages, product details, and pricing that attracts a wide variety of viewers. But beauty is in the eye of the beholder. No single experience suits everyone. Thankfully, Gen AI can help. So if your product doesn't have a description, generative AI can make one from a list of keywords, a short description of the audience and desired tone of voice, and copywriters can expand this first pass. And basically, you can start targeting to your customer segment, just as you would do it for landing pages. Generative AI can really enable marketers to generate copy that's right for a target customer. And if you Gen AI can easily remix to different market segments and incorporate your SEO strategy and A/B testing. And a couple tools like ChatGPT make it possible where you can just describe your ideal website and it would be created for you in real time. And imagine having it to multiple market segments, right? So yeah, so I think this is a really big deal and it helps define, it will help you end-to-end marketers define pricing, customer segments, and enable you to also generate the HTML as Marcos was showing all the different web pages. Okay. Let's go back to the thing. Okay. So yeah. So that's what I was just referencing. Imagine if you could describe your ideal website for generative AI to construct in real time. It's possible. I just love this phrase, and I think it really will enable a lot of people to build their own websites. So I just asked like a couple like rhetorical questions, like would it increase the speed of shipping products? Would it increase efficiency for different organizations to create multiple language landing pages automatically? And would it enable marketers to like, really explore the creativity and not be limited by code and just have ChatGPT generate your landing page for you? So I saw another cool article by Salesforce that did AI in small business that seemed pretty applicable. So, for example, nowadays landing pages it's not just a landing page, but also having your customer's service answered. And now with natural language, for example, chatbots, you can make your website into a chatbot to answer a lot of questions. So chatbots are trained to answer common customer questions using large data sets, and more data that's used, it'll become better over time. And our research, so like I saw, let me just go back to that slide. So 65% of customers expect companies to adapt to their changing needs/preferences, but 61% of customers say most companies treat them as a number. So this is a very powerful statistic, and I believe that generative AI can truly transform the customer experience to allow more people to feel they're not treated as just another number. So yeah, let's go back to that article. So improved customer service is one, increasing productivity. 76% of small business owners say AI allows them to focus on high value tasks, such as developing new products and services, driving increased productivity, and is often accomplished by automating manual or repetitive tasks. So generative AI can really enable businesses that are always strapped for resources to really focus on what matters most, which is selling and iterating, A/B testing, and refining the marketing to really sell to the customer. And yeah, better marketing content, as I said before, very personalized.
Chris, can I jump in here real quick?
So they're talking about a lot of like best practices, define specific use cases. So to stay competitive, many companies would choose to rapidly deploying it without defining its purpose. So that's why we went through those other use cases before, just define them and yeah, educate your team. And yeah, this is what I wanted out of this article. I thought this was really cool. Yeah, I'll share the link. I'll share the slides and the link with the, yeah. And is Marcos unmuted? Let's see.
Yeah, sorry. I was gonna say, can I jump in here with
I
some
can
commentary?
hear you if you're speaking. Are you speaking or not?
I am.
Sorry. Yeah, I think maybe my speaker, because I put MacBook. Otherwise, it's fine. Otherwise, yeah, just put it in the chat if you're speaking. Otherwise, I could just have the question at the end. Sorry. Yeah, I'll just I have the headphones in maybe, so that's probably why. But like, I think I wanted a better mic. Okay. Okay, so improve customer service. So I was talking about the chatbots, the 76%, and thanks to generative AI, the large language models and natural language processing can enable businesses to have answer straightforward questions and create business value and create easy marketing assets. So that's going to go on to my next demo. So, wait, this is a link to the natural language processing. Okay. Yeah, great trails on that. And then, yeah, personalization. And then this is Gartner was saying that GenAI will shift toward more industry-specific models versus going through a broad chat GPT, for example, is not trained on business data. So training it on your industry will also improve the outputs. Okay. I wanted to do the Canva demo now. So I just playing around with it. So I have to show the image because that went away, the prompt went away. Yeah, but so Canva is a pretty easy tool compared to Photoshop and some other tools. It makes it easier for to design graphics and stuff. But I wanted to have like a sledgehammer with the mountains in the background, and this was the output, and you let me pick 3 different outputs. And then it's just, I wanted to do a sledgehammer business, so that's why. But I was trying to illustrate the point of you can do anything that you think of. So let's just do another generation. Can anyone describe, sorry, this is a compute, the monitor is off. Oh yeah, I guess it went down a little bit. Okay, so does anyone have any prompt they would want to put? You can just put in the chat or. And what business would you do, Tim, as well? What business are you gonna, like, for example, mine was a sledgehammer business. Huh? Oh, parachuting onto Jupiter. And what's the business? A skydiving company? If the chat said something. Okay, the chat didn't say anything. It's not bad at all. I don't know if it's a parachute, but pretty cool. That's not really a Jupiter either, but maybe it's like a zoomed in. It's pretty cool actually. But if you think about it, these marketing assets can be used into your landing pages to give them more spice, and especially if it's a more niche use case, a niche product that you won't see in stock images, you can just generate the image and it can, this is pretty cool. This reminds me of Martian, honestly. The movie. Anyway, okay, I'm going to take off my mic so I can get these people. So Marcos, can you speak again? Let me just see if I can hear you.
Sure.
Okay, now I can hear you. Nice.
Okay.
So yeah, what are your thoughts?
I love this. I actually use this same thing on Canva for some of my customers are small nonprofits. So, I'm kind of their marketing team. So Canva can help us do a lot of stuff. But when you were, I love all the stats that you share, and like those articles from Salesforce are usually pretty well put together and really well researched. So thank you for sharing those.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the things that I had, I agree with everything that you mentioned right out of those articles. I think the one thing that requires a little bit of nuance is that although AI it's a tool, right, that's helping us be a little bit more efficient, more productive, all that stuff, writing copy, creating this awesome images, all that stuff, that like at the end of the day, whoever's using them still needs to really understand like your product, your process, your brand, because I mean, even taking this example of the images, I think you gave it some pretty clear directions, right? Like a parachute, Saturn. None of them showed us really Saturn, right? But you knew like what you described was accurate, right? But
Yes.
so I guess what I'm trying to say is like, as much as I hear murmurs of like, oh, I'm gonna replace people on the marketing team or on the sales team or whatever with these tools. Those are your experts, right? And like these are tools to make them better and not to replace them. So that was the first thing that I wanted to emphasize. And then the second thing, and then call it a day, is that you were sharing about the Gen AI. It is possible. And what I wanted to share briefly was that the Gen AI and like the creating of the descriptions and the alt text and like images and all that stuff, it is possible today. And like for people on Pardot who are on the advanced edition or enterprise edition, or if you're on the marketing cloud called Exact Target, you actually do have the ability to enable Einstein for your campaign generation, and you are able to tell it, hey, I want to build an email or a paragraph or something, right, for this product. And we're able to use like our own systems, right, to kind of like feed it data. In fact, Salesforce released a new marketing cloud, so to speak, that sits in between Exact Target and Pardot. And this is kind of like one of the product features, right? That it can do this generative stuff. So it's not that far off. I guess at this point, if you guys haven't seen it, is there. HubSpot also has access to Canva. So like everything you just share right now, you can easily pull this really cool images into an email. So we're getting there. We're just I think people are maybe a little apprehensive about experimenting, but definitely this chat and everything that you shared, I'm hopeful that people are going to go out there and play with some of these toys.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I really loved hearing what you had to say, and thanks for your great presentation and as a basis for kind of my reflection presentation. Yeah. So I guess I have also some roundtable questions, but feel free to chime in on what you just saw. So like, what are the ethics considerations of using AI to influence user behavior on landing pages? I think this is pretty specific, but like, for example, I was right when ChatGPT got released, I remember in The Economist, a writer was saying, this is the first time where we have an alien intelligence, not human, writing the language, and it could have the power to manipulate us. So is it ethical to use AI to maybe influence our behavior? Right now, it looks like it's just like another writer, but maybe if it gets more intelligent than us, we don't know, maybe they're going to make us even more susceptible to marketing content, but maybe it's better for businesses.
I think we're gonna be co-workers with AI.
No, it's the different thing. For example, when you hear a marketing message going by Coke, right?
Right.
There's a marketing message, right? It's something that's subtle messages. So nowadays, what it's saying is like ethical consideration is subtle messages going in, treating you,
Oh, yeah.
and then it
That's
can
happening today.
lead you in some direction.
Today, yeah, we're getting.
This is just gonna amplify, it's just gonna amplify the amount. We're hitting
I listen to
3,500 marketing messages a day.
ding dong.
But we are now looking at the marketing. We are influenced by the AIs in a positive way. You all are very important. That what is telling you when you need to stand up, when you need to walk out the way to stand. That really has to be positive, which is a positive.
Yeah.
But I was saying more of the ethical considerations. For example, if they tell you to stand up and then be like, oh, you can go to this exercise to this gym that gets advertised, or maybe that could be the future, right?
Clarify, are you talking autonomous AI or are you talking?
Not necessarily autonomous, just using not autonomous AI, more of like generative AI writing tools in marketing mainly.
The
That's
thing
what-
is like, asking something, it should write something for you, right?
Yeah.
But the message it gets back with a marketing message to you to do something else, which you never even wanted or intended.
Doesn't this have the same problem as social media where because it's giving you what you're supposed to want to hear, you're just hearing the same stuff all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and how much of that is real? Right? If you're
So the
on
question
X-
becomes, is the person who puts the input in qualified to analyze the same output that comes out?
The thing is like sometimes like you post a prompt, it posts an article for you, over it, right? And you copy paste and modify slightly, and that's the first basics, right? So it's giving a subtle direction already.
Yeah.
Sure.
So can everyone listen? Can we, everyone hear the talk that's going on?
I don't think so.
Session?
I don't think so. You can also increase your mic.
Yeah.
And anybody who wants to join from the outside too, they can also participate in the discussion too, anything else. Yeah, let's go to the next question.
Or
Yeah.
this is more of a rhetorical question, but how can AI help us A/B test how many pages more effectively in addition to people? This is more. That's
Okay.
what we saw just now, so this is more like a quiz question.
Well, it's like if you tell AI what persona you are
Yes.
coming into the landing page. And then it can say, oh, well, you should use this landing page, or this person, that's kind of.
Yep.
Well, I think if you're doing A/B testing, you should have your criteria, which you want to test. So what are you testing? Are you testing copy? Are you testing headlines? Are you testing time of day of these things? And once you have those parameters, then you can use AI to help you generate, more, like several conditions of content or several different headlines.
Yeah.
Then you in your testing, you should be able to say, hey, if I put their first name in this headline, does that work more? And can I do, if I send this to 10% of my audience and I get I get a 5% response rate, is this what I want to be looking for in my A/B testing? Is this effective? Is this what your KPI for this campaign is? Yeah. Yeah, so I really think, you can help us with generating variations of the content and be able to give us different things to test, but we need to be able to say what we want.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what parameters are you testing?
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that answer. What a complete answer and such a thoughtful answer. I really like that. Thank you so much. I think that's good enough for this question. That was great.
I've been doing these tests for how long?
And AI help identify the ideal landing page design and content for audience segments. So this is kind of a repeat question, but I guess going back to your point, like it could probably also, you can just take a screenshot of where your landing page is and feed it into the model and, oh, what parameters are the best to test to improve? So,
That's one too, and what you just said, put a screenshot in and say, hey, and my market or my persona is a CEO. Does that message resonate with him? Yes and no, right, kind of thing. And say, hey, no, this you're targeting somebody else, not a CEO. So it can help you improve it, right, kind of thing too.
Part of my prompts usually is assume you are blank. How would you respond to this? That's kind of prompting I put into ChatGPT a lot, or I will give it parameters like my ICP is, C-level executives of companies that have over $10 million in revenue. So assume this ICP, ideal customer profile, when you're developing your content. I think if you actually granularly give those kind of prompts in your prompt, you will get better responses.
Oh, yeah. really
Really
put all kinds of
put- yeah.
details in that prompt. and
Yeah,
what
but
you should-
see, what you're talking about is while you're creating a page. But think like you're a reviewer of a page. So you already have a landing page, like for example, Marco showed a page to you. That's what, that other way, then you can take a screenshot, upload the image and say, okay, now my ICP is what you said, does it match or not match? Or I want to improve this text, make it better, kind of thing too, right? So, yeah, no, what you're saying,
Yeah,
like this is like,
AI can identify it without you telling it who the target audience is.
no, you're right, kind of thing, yeah. Mhm.
If you said you feed a screenshot into AI, they'll just look at.
No, but the thing
oh,
is, like, for example, I pick up a marketing message comes to me from Nike, right? I throw that in and say, okay, I want to make a landing page, something similar to this, but I'm targeting CEOs of the company and stuff like that, right?
Okay. I think-
That is all for now. So thank you so much. And thank you, Marco, for the presentation from the book.
Yeah, thanks.
I need thank you guys so much. Sorry for muting, but basically this is the end of my presentation and I hope you enjoyed it.
All right, so yeah, that was it for this session today. And so our time is now up. We'll have one more meeting for this year. Those who are in Bay Area should try to join. So thanks for your time. Thanks for joining us this evening. And have a great one. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Wow. It's awesome. Thank you.